one thing I changed is I had changed the name of it because I realized that I said using AI to speed up your WordPress development. I meant it just more in terms of website development, not necessarily coding development. So I changed the WordPress build so that it would be a little more friendly for everyone to understand that I mean the whole process of it, the whole process of working with your client at the beginning to build the website, then implementing designs and getting them to approve things like that. So it's the whole build process. Just trying to find ways that we can use AI to help us with that. Now, and by the way, I'm on Twitter. That's my Twitter handle there. I'm on just about all the social medias and I'm under my name. So you can find me if you look for Robbie Adair out there. The images, and Kim was talking about this earlier, that image that you have there, I actually built that image. Hang on one second. There we go. With Firefly. So this was built with Adobe Firefly. You can probably see the little beta down there because it is still in beta right now. But I wanted to put in this, inside of the slide so that you would know what prompts I used to generate these images. So like this one, I said I wanted the back of a female web developer at a computer wearing a headset with microphone. And on the computer screen, you can see AI tools building a website. Futuristic hyperrealism. That's a style. So I'm asking for a certain style of look in that prompt. Prompts are going to be very, very important. As you probably have already seen, there's a whole new role out there called prompt engineer. And that's because prompts, the better your prompt, the better the output you're going to get from the AI. And so you need to learn how to phrase your prompts. And by the way, there are a lot of prompts out there that you can find sets of prompts and things like that, which we'll talk about a little later. Just a quick little thing about me. You can go to my personal website if you want to, but let me tell you, I call it the redheaded stepchild because I haven't updated that thing in forever because I don't have time. But I do have one, so you can contact me there if you'd like to. I've had an agency in Houston for now 20 and a half years. Hate to say that, but anyway, 20 and a half years I've been building websites. We started way back when doing Flash and action scripting. So that gives you any indicator how long I've been doing this. It's been a while. And then about 4 years ago, I bought OS Training. It's a web development training company. I had worked, before I started my agency, I'd worked in corporate America as a corporate trainer, training web development. And so it's just kind of like, I had worked with the owner of OS Training. I worked with him over the years so that I could still deliver web development classes in person and things like that. And because I love training. And so then whenever he was ready to sell it, I was like, oh, I want to buy it. So, and we do all types of training on there. It's not just WordPress. We have WordPress, obviously, but we also have Joomla, Drupal, even Shopify, Eckwood. So various things, plus the tools or certain plugins that you may use. We do classes on those specifically. So what are we going to talk about in here? And like I said, I'm going to try and get you through these slides fairly quickly so you won't be bored, because I know it's even more boring when we're online trying to do a presentation. But so we're going to look at just a brief little history of AI. And the reason I like to do that is because right now there's a lot of people who are just like terrified. I'm going to lose my job because of AI, but you're really not. It's been around. You just didn't even notice it. It's been there. It didn't take your job before. It's not going to now. We're going to look at generating text, generating images and backgrounds, CSS and log reporting. So some different things that you can use AI to help you with once you get to building the site or maintaining a site. And then some things that you should consider when using AI. And then of course the Q&A, but I'm also going to try and build us in some, let me show you some stuff in that time. So the image that you see there, I did it all of the images I think I did with Firefly throughout this. So this is a robot holding a clipboard with a countdown clock on the wall behind him. It did pretty good. And by the way, when you generate an image, it gives you 3 options, and then you can tell it to regenerate again. If you want more, you can go and say, this one looks good, but give me other options of it. And so some of these were the first option I got. Some of them I might have had to regenerate those or follow a little path of the ones I liked many times. And we'll look at doing that. So the brief history on AI, I have to tell you, I went into ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT to give me a brief history on AI because I was like, let me just see what ChatGPT thinks about it. First of all, ChatGPT gave me a book. Oh my goodness gracious. So then I was like, wait, ChatGPT, could you please give me a bulleted list out of this? and I had it bulleted out, timeline. And then I was like, okay, could you give me what you think are the top 20 most important things out of this? So I kept having it narrow it down. And then I actually narrowed it down myself in the end to the things that I did think were pretty relevant. One, I like notating that in 1943 is actually when we actually started on AI. This is when we created machine learning, as it were, neural networks. And then you had the Turing test, obviously. There's a movie that, what's his name did. It's a really good movie. And that's about the Alan Turing. So we started having that back in the 50s. You started seeing this. And then I'm sure you all remember the little AI beating the famous chess player over there. I mean, it's been there. We just didn't always call it that, but it was AI. It was machine learning and AI that we were using. And so why now? Well, because in 2018, that's when OpenAI put out a language model. And then in 2020, they made it open so that you could actually, anybody could go in there and use it with a little interface. Now that's when the buzz started, right? And they have an API so that you can tie into it. And what that means is it has opened it up to a broad audience now that can utilize it and can build it into their own tools. So that's why it feels like AI came around, at the beginning of COVID, but really it's been here. It's been here for quite some time. Things like speech recognition software. I mean, I remember in the 90s, I think, using Dragon Speech. So it's been around a very long time. You had things like email filtering. We've been using that for years. Email filtering uses machine learning. So we have been doing these things. I did put little Clippy in here. That one was not machine generated. I actually went and got him from Google. But Clippy, I went and asked ChatGPT. Now, this is what I think is funny is ChatGPT got a little sassy. He's like, well, he could be considered, like a basic form of AI. I was just like, okay, he was AI. Poor little Clippy. They tried to bring him back and he just got no love. So I guess we're never going to see Clippy again. So how can you not be scared of AI, but use AI? Use it ethically, use it responsibly, and use it to make your life easier and be able to speed up your production. Well, as web developers, I am 100% sure if you've developed a website, even for one person, even just for a family member, you developed a website, you have asked for content to go on this website, and you have then waited and waited and waited a little longer. And you've said, can I help you get this content together? Even though you didn't really want to write their content. So it is a struggle, and it's content, not just the text that you need from them, it's the images that you need from them. And so a lot of times what happens is web development gets stalled right at the very beginning because the designer is like, well, I need something to put in here to be able to design to. And so then what you started seeing is, okay, well, I'm just going to start laying this out with just a placeholder. I'm going to throw some Laura Ipson in there. And so then you lay out this little design, and then you show the client, like, I know you're still trying to get your content together, but I want to show you what we're kind of thinking layout. And they're like, wait, no, I wanted it in English. And you're just like, oh my gosh. So using Laura Ipson, for the rest of us, we understand it's not a language and that it's just placeholder text. But clients, the whole reason they're coming to you probably is they're not designers. They don't have that visualization. And so they need something more to be able to really grasp it and to understand the design that you're doing. So imagine if instead we had shown our client this. Our client's a bakery, a cupcake bakery. And so it's like, oh, well, what if we had a little cupcake and we had a brief description of our cupcake? And so now we can say, oh, this is what it would look like in your storefront. So we can actually show them something that looks more like what the end product will be. And it allows them to visualize what it's going to look like, as well as it will then hopefully help them speed up getting that content to you, because then they're going to say, oh, so when you said a little description, this is what you meant. Oh, okay. And so you're helping them understand what you do need from them. So being able to use things like ChatGPT to generate text, or Bard. We'll look at both of those. Or using, there's Midjourney, there's Dolly, there's Firefly, and there's now, every week there's another set of them that will generate images. But like this one, I generated again with Firefly, and I said a web developer growing old while waiting for an email to come in from their client. claymation style. By the way, it does claymation fantastically, I think. I love the claymation out of AI generated art because it doesn't have to be as perfect when you're trying to generate a person. A lot of the AI artwork gets a little crazy, like they have 6 fingers or weird things like that. But when you're doing, claymation, it doesn't have to be so perfect. And so it's actually an ideal type of style to use, or paintings, things like that. So creating content, again, comes down to prompts, right? So how long of content do you need? Like that one before, we wanted a short description of a lemon cupcake, let's say. So we had to be very specific in our prompt as to what we want it to give us back. Now, the good thing about ChatGPT or Bard or whatever is it is an AI, so you can have a continuous conversation about the same topic with it to start narrowing down. So if it didn't give you what you wanted exactly, you could say, oh, well, that's really good, but I really, instead of a paragraph, I need this to be one sentence. I don't have to say, again, do one sentence about a lemon. I've already asked it for a description of a lemon cupcake. Now I can say, oh, make that just one sentence. So it's fast to work with it because you're not having to reiterate everything you said before. It is remembering everything that you guys talked about, which is one of the things that was such a big improvement when ChatGPT 4 came out, was you could have a much longer conversation with it. In other words, it can remember a lot more. So that's kind of, think of AI memory is where we're trying to increase things and make that longer and longer because we can get more out of it the longer it can have this big memory. This is why people aren't writing full novels with it yet, because it can't keep track of all those characters for that long. So you can do a short story, but you can't do a long novel. But there are now, because of these APIs, there's coders that are working on creating these memory banks so that you can actually do more with it using the API. So back to our prompts here, though. So using things that like our example was a baker, right? And so we know some things about our client, probably, even if they haven't given us anything. We know some things about our client. We did our research before we ever sold them a website, probably. So we know our client uses, everything's homemade. They don't buy anything from another vendor. They've won some awards. They're 3rd generation family owned. Any information you can give it that is very specific is going to give you better information back from it. And then you can actually, maybe your client does send you something. They send you a 5-page document about them. And you're like, wow, okay, that's a lot. Well, you could feed that 5-page document in to ChatGPT and say, hey, could you organize this? Highlight the important things, make bulleted lists where it makes sense. And so you could give it that information and have it narrow that down for you. You could also have it calculate things for you. You could say, they started their business, they were founded this year. How many years have they been in business? And let it calculate for you. Sometimes you can ask it about other things that are out there. You can say, how long ago did they win this award, if it knows that in its history of when their award was won. So you can have it do it. And you can say, well, I wanted that in days. Can you tell me that in days? And it is very fast to computate all of these things. And yes, could I sort that out? Yes. But would it be faster for me just to ask it to do it? Yes, absolutely. So like this was a very generic. So let's say we wanted to do our about page for the company, and they still have yet to get it to us, because that's probably the hardest page for them to write, right? Is the about page. They're like, oh, I don't want to write about myself. But you could give them something like this as a shell, not to use it as is. And you'll notice that I've got bracketed things because I asked it to do it just on a company, I didn't give it the name of that company. I didn't give it the founder's name. I said, give me something more generic. That's what I wanted. And your client could use this to help them write it. You never want them to use it directly out of here, but it might give them the ideas of things that they could say about themselves. So not only is it going to help you lay out the design to show the client, but it may help that client figure out what they need to say about themselves. Images, same thing, right? Images, we want to throw some images in there. You've asked them for pictures of all their cupcakes, and they're just like baking cupcakes. They don't have time to take pictures of them and send them over to you. So we've got no pictures. Or maybe what we do is we can go online and maybe find some that people uploaded to social media or something like that. But if we want to generate some photos like the one I had up front of a lemon cupcake, that's very easy to do. That and I didn't put the prompt on that one, but I want to say I said something like a lemon cupcake with sprinkles on top on a gingham tablecloth, I think is what I said. And that was what I got. So here, though, I wanted to show you a few other ideas with images that you may use. One, I love Adobe Firefly's text image. So that's the cupcakes there. I told it to, this is the word cupcakes. This is the font I want to use. Now I want it to be covered in icing, or, you know, I could say I want it covered in circuit boards, or I want this to be, have tie-dye. So, and it will automatically do that design on top of our font. And we can, again, vary it up. We can tell it to be stronger, to make the lines less blurry on the edges, all kinds of stuff. And then the other thing, if any of you have ever had to make yourself a repeatable background, this sometimes can be a very time-consuming process. There's this whole flip it, copy it, flip it, you know, and then you, even after you do that, sometimes it doesn't look quite like what you thought it was going to spatially, and so you're doing it again. You can actually ask Firefly, Midjourney, Dolly, any of those for repeatable backgrounds, and it's going to be perfectly repeatable for you. So I think that that is a really cool tool to use, even if you decided, well, but I didn't want these to be little chocolate cupcakes. I wanted to do something else. At least what you've got here is a template. You can overlay your own graphic on it if you want to, but you've got a template to do it with. So it can speed up your time. Again, prompts, by the way, hang on, before I cover that up, again, on the prompts though, be very specific in what you want, and also sizing. So in a lot of these, you'll see in Firefly, you can actually set the dimensions that you want, or you can say, I want a square image, or I want a portrait, I want a wide. In Midjourney, you can set the exact specific pixels. And now in Midjourney, the latest cool thing is they've got the zoom out feature. So you could have an image and then you can say, oh, but I need this image to be this big, zoom out, and it will populate, generate fill, all the rest of that image. And it's pretty amazing what it can do. Also, Adobe does that too with their generative fill. So you have the ability to have an image that's this big, even though you want to make it a hero image this big. So you can just expand that out, generative fill that, and it fills it in to match lighting, color, everything. All right, so now let's go back to our prompt there that we had. So that's the cupcakes, the text effects, excuse me. And then down here, I said, make a repeatable background of cupcakes. So I wasn't very specific there. So it did give me a variety. You can see it gave me some with different size cupcakes. It gave me some with a randomized kind of looking repeatable. It gave me some with a very rigid, very linear repeatable, even. And so I was not specific. If I wanted to have one that was very randomized looking, I should have included that in there. I didn't. I wanted to see what it was going to give me as a generic. So I think it's interesting that it does give me random ones to pick from. And then if I like one of those, like maybe I like the more structured one in the bottom because I like things in even pairs and such. So I would probably click that one and then have it generate even more options for me. And it would know, oh, well, Robbie picked the one that was very even. So it would generate more for me that way and not like the other randomized ones. All right, there's some other tools that are starting to come out. And I think hopefully I opened up a couple of others I want to show you guys today too. We're just getting new tools every day. It is crazy. So Segment Anything is one of Microsoft's tools, actually, and you can use it on their website if you go to Segment Anything, and it allows you to cut things out of images, and it is amazingly good at it. Now, this example is not perfect. As you can see, that cutout, if I did this cutout in Photoshop, I could do it much, much better, obviously, but it also would have taken me a lot longer than it did in there. And I'm going to show you guys an example of using Segment Anything. It's online. You can upload an image, you can cut out whatever you want, and voila, you've got it. So how would I use this with my client site? Let's say, for instance, our client site, we designed it about our team page, right? And I want all the team members to be kind of like Taylor Swift over here, where they're cut out. I don't want a background on them. I want to have a little name tag at the bottom and have a little nice cutout of them. And what they sent me was like, you know, people's profiles on their social media or whatever. And so I'm going to have to go through and cut those out. I can do it very quickly with some of these tools. So I don't even have to have Photoshop if I don't want to. I could use Segment Anything. Now, this one over here is called Magic Copy. And it's It doesn't always work. It's in development is the problem. So it is a Chrome extension, and then it's also a Figma. I haven't tested it in Figma at all. I just keep trying to use it in Chrome. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I'm not really sure. But it basically is still using, it's an API that drives over to segment anything. But what it means is I could actually just be on the website. So like I was on a website and there was a picture of Taylor Swift, and I just went to right click and said magic copy. And it uses the API to go over and use segment anything to help me cut her out. And I'm gonna show you the segment anything. I'll show you the magic copy too, but I couldn't get it to work earlier today when I tested to see if I was going to be able to show you guys. So we'll see if it works. So other ways. So maybe you've gotten past the whole design. You've gotten your client to actually send you some content now, and you're really sitting down and you're trying to work on this, building this out, right? Getting the HTML pages set up on there, however you decided to do it. If you did WordPress or you decided to hand code this sucker or whatever you decided to do. But even if you did WordPress, even if you're using the block editor, there may be times where you need to put a little extra CSS in there, right? Because no matter how many WYSIWYG little levers you can get on a block, there's always something you want to do to it that there's no way to do it with a little lever or a field. And so you're like, I'm going to have to put some custom CSS on this. Well, guess what, man? I will tell you, ChatGPT is the bomb diggity when it comes to CSS. It really is. It can help you out. So, I mean, all of us, unless all you do every day is CSS, we all get to the point where we're like, oh, I need to add this. Oh, what did I have to do a rounded corner button? Well, let me go Google that. And you go Google it and you're, oh yeah, okay, that's what it is I need to do. And you probably wind up copying that code somewhere else anyway. And so you may say, well, Robbie, then what's the point? Why go into ChatGPT and ask it to write that? Why don't I just Google it and I could copy it off of a site? Because what if after you did this, the client goes, oh, that's real pretty, but could you also put a blue outline on it? And could you round it a little more? Guess what? You just go back into your ChatGPT conversation and say, oh, could you add a blue outline and make this round more, just like what your client said? And guess what? It rewrites that code for you, copy and paste it over there. So it remembers, remember? And so then you're going back, you're not having to go Google again this, and then how do I do this? So it's going to save you time because it's all consolidated right there where you're having this conversation, right? The other thing is when you get to where maybe there's an error happening and you're just like, what is going on with this website? And then you contact support at your host and they're like, well, have you looked at the weblogs? And you're just like, oh my gosh, because have you ever opened up weblogs and looked at them? It's like reading Greek. You're just like, oh, and then so you're going through and you're trying to find the time that this all crashed and you're like trying to look at it and your eyes are bleeding. Well, guess what? You can literally copy and paste that weblog up in ChatGPT and say, can you tell me if there was an error somewhere around this time or whatever? Or can you consolidate and tell me what the errors are? It will analyze your weblogs for you and save you tons of time because it can do it like that, seconds, whereas it might take you 30 minutes digging through that or longer. And so using it to bulk read data and analyze it for you is a real strength for it. And there's, you know, if you were worried about using images or you were worried about using generated text, this is something, it's really just using it as a tool. You don't have to worry about copyright on this. You don't have to worry about some artist's feelings getting hurt because something looks like theirs. So this is something you can use to actually just help you in your day-to-day job as a web developer or as a web maintainer or even as a designer if you're a front-end designer. And if you are a dev, it knows code as well, by the way. And it's got some really pretty cool things. I'm hoping we'll have a few minutes so I can show you some of the things you can do with it because it's really crazy if you're a developer. Like you could have it scaffold up a plugin for you. You can say, I'm going to make a new plugin for WordPress. Can you scaffold up the plugin for me? And it will literally scaffold it up for you. And it's like, this is your file, make this folder, put this file in there. It's going to not only do it, but it's going to explain it as it does it to you. So you're going to learn as well. And I'll show you a great way of learning code too, is using ChatGPT because you can have it explain code to you in detail, ad nauseum almost. So like that snippet over there, I said, write some CSS to make an orange rounded corner button with white text. And voila, it did it 2 seconds. I copied it and put it in there. And again, if I needed to make more changes, I could do it. And you'll notice that not only did it create it, it said, here's how you do it to create it. then it said, and just so you know, background color is a property, this, and so it's explaining what it wrote for me. And by the way, AI hallucination is a real thing, which I should have mentioned when we were looking at like that text. When you have it write some text, sometimes it makes up things, and you're like, is that true? And you can ask ChatGPT to tell you, where did you find that information? Where did where did you find that information to say X? And sometimes ChatGPT will come back and go, well, you know what? I actually can't find anything. I'm not sure why I said that. It's not true. It told me, both ChatGPT and Bard told me that one of the founders of a company I've worked with died. One of them said he died in 93. One said he died in 2006. Man's still alive. And I was just like, why did you say this? What evidence do you have that he passed away? And they're like, oh, no, I don't. I guess he's not deceased. I was just like, okay, wow, crazy. And by the way, then it also goes on down there. Now, if you were doing this in WordPress and you were just putting some custom CSS, you wouldn't have to do this part. But if you were, and you just wanted to understand what's happening, is it shows you that by doing this CSS up here, you've basically affected the HTML button tag down there. So it goes ahead and explains it all to you, which I think is very nice of it. So let's talk about some things that you should consider. And again, I asked ChatGPT what I thought you should consider about using AI. And it gave me a whole ton of stuff. I took it down to the things that I actually agreed with. But that's quality and coherence. Obviously, like I said, it hallucinates. You do need to check your facts on it. There was, I don't know if you guys saw in the news, but I don't know, a month or so ago, a lawyer used it to write his brief and turned it in. And it cited multiple cases that did not exist. It made those cases up 100%. The guy got in trouble with the judge. I mean, it's a big deal. It's still going on. Not sure what's going to happen with that guy. And he was like, well, I didn't know. I thought it would give me proper information. I'm like, wow, I would have checked that. But anyway, so don't ever just go and generate something out of ChatGPT and expect that it's 100% correct. Even if you ask ChatGPT, is this correct? I would still do some double checking myself before I spouted anything as correct. Plagiarism. So yes, sometimes you would find that ChatGPT, if it's giving you information, let's say I ask it, what are the top things to do in Ireland if I'm there for 5 days, which it will give you a very detailed plan of what you should do for every day of those 5 days. But it may give me a description of a castle that I should go and see. And then if you really dig into it, that castle description, there's a full sentence or paragraph that matches their website. So you do have to check for plagiarism. Now, there are plagiarism checkers you can run this text through. By the way, there's also, and we're going to get more of these tools like Zero GPT, which is something you can run your text through and you can find out, was this generated with AI? And it's fairly good at it as well. I generated some text out of ChatGPT, ran it through, and it was like, yeah, this is probably 90%. This is AI. And I was like, yeah, well, it was. I just copied and pasted it. It was 100%, but you're close. And then I took a blog that I had written and I put it in there, and it was like, well, there's maybe a 10% chance that this was written by AI. So I always tell people, look, I always thought I was part robot. It's proven 10% robot. That's why I'm called Robbie. But anyway, no. So it's not perfect, but it will help you. You can run it through there. You can run it through, and I saw some my friends were posting that they were putting out, they were getting resumes in for jobs, and they said like half of the cover letters coming in were almost identical because they had just gone into ChatGPT and were like, write me a cover letter to get a job. And so these were very, very similar. But if they really wanted to double check, they could run those through Zero GPT, and see, were these generated with AI? Probably. So ethics, bias. So it's real. That very first slide, I have the woman developer, web developer. If I just said a web developer, 90% of the time it would give me a male. 90% of the time it would give me a white male, actually, to be precise. So there's a lot of biases in there, but it's because how did ChatGPT learn? It learned by absorbing things on the web. And so we have a lot of biases out there. And so this is our problem. So they are doing, all of the AI companies, the machine learning companies are trying to correct some of this by being more pointed in the way they train these things, and being more descriptive in what people roles could be, things like that. And then ethics, there's people have gone into Midjourney or Dolly and generated images, and there's literally, you can see a swirl of part of the artist's signature because it used part of a painting. And so, you don't want to use something like that because that is taking away from somebody else's copyrighted material. Another thing that you should know about anything that is AI generated too is that you cannot copyright it, because in our law, copyrights are human generated things. AI is not human generated. Therefore, you cannot copyright pieces that you generate with AI. So there's that too. A lot of people think there might be a lack of creativity, originality. I don't think that's true. I think it's going to make us way more creative personally. And even trying to use some of these tools, if I don't know how to use other tools already, it does me no good. For instance, if I wanted to use some of the images, I probably can't find one exactly what I want. I'm probably still going to need to composite things, and I need to have the skills to be able to do that. I could go and tell it to generate a code for me, but if I can't really kind of read that code, I don't know if that code is secure, if that code is written the best way it could be. So I don't think it's going to cause a lack. I think it's actually going to help us because it's going to speed us up. It's what I think. Misinformation, data privacy is a concern just because of the way the machines learn when you've got these machines going out there and gulping everything they can find with bots. And if there's insecure websites and they can like gulp down things like usernames and passwords, this is a bad thing. So there is a data privacy part of this that we do have to worry about. Over dependence on AI. I can't imagine us getting over dependent on any device or tool. Come on. But ChatGPT, being ever so helpful, decided to give me ways that we could address these concerns. And so it did. It went on, and you can read all these if you want to, but basically it's like, no, it's not going to replace humans. You can review and edit everything that you get, and they're always trying to fix things with it. You need to stay updated on the legalities of it, and you should make sure on your own websites and things that you have data privacy enabled so that machines can't learn off of it. That's important. But basically what I will tell you is, wow, this stuff moves. It feels like when you're trying to keep up with the AI news, it is like you're just like guzzling out of a gas tank because it is just so much that is coming at you every single day. I get a newsletter called Too Long Didn't Read, and I've got their AI version. And I mean, just every single day, there's new tools, there's new things that happen that are causing legal battles. There's just so much going on. It is insane. So it's kind of hard to keep on top of it, but it's also real exciting because this is like something that's moving so fast. It's like when computers came about, and that moved so quickly. Technology moves so quickly, right? I mean, each invention that we've had through mankind, the wheel, that helped things move along, but it was kind of a slow process of moving things along. Then you had automation that sped up industry, things like that. And now we had technology that sped up everything. But this technology, when they look at the curve, this one just like straight up, like it is just amazing how quickly it is evolving and developing. I listen to a lot of podcasts too, and a lot of the people are guessing that it's going to be like this for the next year, and then they think it'll level out. I personally think it's going to take us a little bit longer than that. I figure 3-5 years that we'll just be going and crazy because we're just figuring out all the things that we can do with it and what's the possibilities, right? So now we'll have some questions, and then I'm also going to show you some things. And by the way, I want to thank you guys. Thanks, Kim, for asking me to come on. I really appreciate it. Also, if you guys are interested in OS training, we are running a coupon code that gives you 20% off. And that's for the WordPress 20th anniversary. So called Unleash Me.
Very good.
All right.
I've been writing down my questions.
Oh, good.
So I know you're going to show us stuff too.
I am going to show you guys some stuff.
One thing that you mentioned before, I mean, you added new stuff. I mean, I know this is always changing,
Yeah.
but one thing that impressed on me was that anytime I put anything into Chat GPT, it becomes theirs. So if I were to add personal information, it now becomes part of their brain, right?
Yes. So let me share ChatGPT to you. So if you have the free version, I think you still only have access to GPT 3.5 for starters. So
Okay.
you're using the older one anyway. The better one now is GPT 4. And it is hands down better. It's faster. It's, like I said, you can put a lot more into it. If you have the paid for version, though, you can go into your settings here. And this is important for people to know that you have data control here. And so you can actually turn this little switch off if you do not want ChatGPT to be able to save your information and learn from it. It will also not save those conversations, though, after this session. So you lose the conversation. But if you, let's say you did want to, I wanted to help me write something in one of my contracts. And if I wanted to use like real things that and have my company name in it, I would turn this off before I did that conversation. And then I would do that conversation. And then I usually turn it back on because I do like a lot of my stuff is not I don't care if it learns from me asking these questions. And so I leave it on. So I have my history for those, but I have turned it off 2 or 3 times when I wanted to ask some things that I didn't want to be something that it machine learned off of. And so you can turn that off if you have the paid for version of it.
So if you turned it off for just that, it would save your other ones, but just not
Mhm.
that one. Okay, good.
Yeah, it
And
did save mine. I didn't know if
I
it
didn't,
would.
when you mentioned that in your talk, I was like, I can go back to those. And I realized, oh, that's what's on the side, all those past things I've asked it. So
Yeah,
I've
like
used
here.
it for code things. So it's nice I can go back and
Yeah, so like here's that CSS orange button that I asked it to. There's the very first one. And then I said, "Hey, can you rewrite it to have a blue outline?" Boom, it did that, you know. And I'm like, "Hey, can you rewrite it to have a unique class name?" Which remember, prompts are important, people. I said have a unique class name. It named it unique dash button. I was like,
yeah.
"Oh my goodness." So I said, "Can you rewrite that and make the unique name blue dash orange button?" So it rewrote it with that. And then it
Nice.
shows me how do I pull that class name into my code. So it remembered. And even here, I mean, I could still now say to it that I want to redo something on that. And I went on to ask it some other things here, as you can see, but you could keep asking it to reiterate those
Nice.
unless you you can delete these too, by the way. If you want to delete any of them, you can. Um,
Which this probably answers my first question I had, as I know there's limitations with 2021. Is that the free version? Does the newer version make up
so
for that and have newer
Yeah,
content?
so I think it's like April 21st, 2021 or something like that. It'll always tell you when it hits its. I don't know anything past this date. But so if you've got the paid for one and you've got GPT-4, for starters, there are plugins in it now. So like if I hit a new chat here and I go to 4, you'll see there's plugins. And I can pick different plugins here. And one of these plugins here is Link Reader that allows it to go out and read the web. There's also, hang on, we'll get this. Can y'all see the plugin store pop up?
A
I
little
can't
bit.
tell. Okay,
I
yeah,
can
here it
we
comes.
there it is. It's
Okay.
populated. Yeah.
So this one also has like it has some connections to some of the websites like Expedia. You want to help it book a trip for you, you can install the plugin and it'll talk to Expedia for you. And then like I like another one here. The link reader lets you go out. Like I can go and say, go and tell me what are the top 10 headlines on CNN right now. So that's very timely news, right? I can get that. It's also got where it can talk to PDFs that are out there on the web too. So, and then Prompt Perfect, by the way, this one helps you. It analyzes the prompts you've used and tries to give you better ones to use. And let's see if the other one, if you're a Zapier user, you can actually do your zaps from here. So that's pretty impressive.
Oh,
Yes. So
that
you could
is
go in
nice.
here and you could say, oh, let's look at this information. I'm going to show you because one of the newest things is Code Interpreter that just happened last week. So I'm really excited. I'm going to show you guys. So Code Interpreter just got landed in here. And so if I also had Zapier and I had it connected to my Google Sheets, the things I'm going to show you I could do with Code Interpreter, I could then say, oh, could you please just zap this over to my Google Sheet called this? And so, and you can
Wow.
also do diagrams in here too. So it can build some diagrams. You can use Kayak for setting up other travel. The travel, all of them are going to be on here eventually so that you can use this to, you know, compare these 3 travel sites and tell me who has the best flight price at this time on this date, which would be really cool. Yeah. Anyway, so so Code Interpreter is the latest and greatest that just happened last week. And so I haven't even got to play with it very much, but it is really cool. What makes Code Interpreter a little different is that it will allow you to upload documents in here. And so like I went and made I just went to, you guys know Macaru, where you can go and create yourself some bogus data to use if you're trying to like fill out some stuff and test some stuff. So I went in and I made some bogus data here. I made 1,000 rows, a CSV file, and I had its, you know, ID, first name, last name, their email, a gender, and I'm just picking the things that it allows you to put in here, right? And then like then I added country, and I picked a country out of their thing. An active member, I picked their Boolean, so it'd give me true or false. And then date joined, so it'd give me a date time. And then I set a range, and I said, okay, from 2019 to 2023, that you could create a bogus date in any of those. And then I generated the data. That gave me a CSV file. So that's done. Now we're going to upload the CSV file here. Let's see, desktop presentation. Here's my mock data. Yeah, that's it. And so I'm going to pull this mock data up here. So it's pulled that up, and I can say, tell me about this file. Now it's going to go through here. Now it is using Python, by the way. And if you want to actually see what it did, you can like run it and see what you can see what it actually did in the background. But now this is what it's going to tell me. Hey, this is called this. Like I didn't know that, but anyway, and it's telling me everything about it, right? Look, it says, well, there's data in here. There are columns. These are all the different column names. And then it says, you know, my best guess based on the columns is a few rows we've seen. These are my best guesses, sorry. So it says, would you like me to perform any more analysis? And I'm like, okay, well, it says that there's active members. Can you make a pie chart of active member? And so it's using Python again, and it's going to look at that data file again, and then it's going to pop out here, and it's like, boom, I just made you a pie chart with all this information. And so it made my pie chart for me.
Wow.
Yeah, and I could say, make a colored stacked bar graph of active member and gender, let's say. And so now we're going to let it analyze that data again and build us a stacked bar chart. And voila. So it is, wow, we have a lot of genders in this because I use that thing. And look, we have got a lot of genders. So it is got some very up-to-date data here. So now though, I'm looking at this and I'm like, the colors don't look good. So I'm going to say, please use different colors on this bar chart. So it should know, it remembers the bar chart that it just built, right? And it's just going to recolor it for me because I didn't like those colors. Those were really hard to see the differences. And so here it is, and it's recolored it. Yeah. And we could get more specific and we could say, hey, I would like to make a female red and male blue and non-binary green. And we could get very specific on this. We could also say,
can you save that image? Is that like, you would save that image then? How is that?
So yeah, so I was like, you can save this image. So just like you do any other right click save as. Now there's also another plugin in here that I showed you that was Visualize. Let me find one that I've used it with. Create a data group. This one is also, I was just playing with it when it came out. This was cool. I had it plot these students by their grade, by the year, the number that enrolled in this school. One of my clients. Anyway, hang on. I want to find that. Here we go. So using the plugin, whatever it's called, hang on, I'll look it up here in a second. It's that little plugin right there. I can say things like, hey, can you draw me a diagram of how Amazon Cloud is set up? And it's like, oh, here's a simplified little diagram. And this one, if I want to edit it, you see it says you can edit this diagram online. And this takes you to, I forgot the name of the tool, but it's one of the like, little drawing tools that you can use online to make diagrams. And so you can edit these. It does give you the ability to do that. Red Star plugin, that's who it is. So these I know you can edit. Now, I do know that this is supposed to, and I haven't tested it, but I think it's supposed to work with Excel eventually. I don't know if it's working with Excel yet, but I think you're supposed to be able to send this to Excel eventually. We can also say, make a data table of this data. And it should be similar to a, okay, yeah, here we go. So it's building the table. So you can see it is building like an Excel sheet. And this is all going to be copyable. So you could just copy and paste this into an Excel. And you could also, by the way, copy and paste this data into Excel. And then you could just ask ChatGPT to tell you how to make a pie chart in Excel. And the new, I know in the Microsoft 365, I saw a demo. They're going to build an AI inside of all of those tools. And so soon you'll just inside of Excel, you'll hit a little prompt button and say, could you make a pie chart of this? You're not going to have to know where's the button to go get pie chart. How do I select the fields I want to be in it? They're going to build AI into the tools that you're used to using. So, okay. So I think these are pretty cool. By the way, the other thing, if you are a coder, if you grab some code, I think I did it in here. Okay. I said, please explain this React code to me like a newbie. Now, I specifically pasted some code in here that wasn't React because I wanted to see, first of all, could I fool it? So I pasted this in there and it said, well, actually, this is not React code, but it's WordPress PHP code that is pulling in some React application. And so it literally, because I said, explain this to me like a newbie, that's your key phrase, it will break down code and it will explain it to you line by line if you want it to. And I said, so I put in, hang on, I'm going to find this. Okay, so I told it this. I put in some here and I said, please explain this to me as a noob, which really was React. And it said, this is a React hook called this. Here's a breakdown. And it literally breaks down this code for you, which to me, if I were a developer, personally, I'm not. I call myself a meddler at best. Like I could take some code somewhere and I can like tweak some things if I want to, but that's about it. But if I'm a meddler like that, or if I'm a coder, and let's say I've been asked to fix something that I didn't write, well, as a developer, you basically have to look at it all and assimilate it so you understand, or you can't fix it. But if you could do something like this, where it very quickly breaks it down, so you can just kind of go, oh, yep, yeah, all right, okay, yeah, okay. And then you could even ask it to do something. So I could say, I said, explain it to me like a noob. And then if there's a better way to do it, write it. And so it said, okay, here's everything about it. And it said, but there's a potential issue with this code. And it tells me why it thinks there's an issue with the code. And then it says, here's a better updated code. And it gave me code. And you can just hit the copy code button. Yeah. I mean, so it's pretty cool. You still have to understand though, right? You do have to understand, but it can also help you learn. And also if you are like in the Joomla world and you're having to take some of your Moo tools and convert it up to regular JavaScript, guess what? You can say, can you take this Moo tools code and put it into vanilla JavaScript that'll run on PHP 8? And so it took this code and it rewrote that Moo tools into vanilla JavaScript for us.
Nice.
So,
nice.
And then explained it. Yeah. So code wise, it can actually really help you a lot. Do I think this is going to take away developers' jobs? No, because again, if you can't look at this and know this is good, then it does you no good. Because you could actually put something, if you just weren't a coder and you went, let me just let this regurgitate some stuff up and I put it out there, I might have put a vulnerability in something. So I wouldn't do that. So you do need to know something about it.
I've used it to build arrays for me because arrays are not my funnest thing, or like loops, writing those. But
Mhm.
if I can make really good if statements. So I'll have this if statement that's like 5 things long, and I'll say, make this simpler, and it'll turn it into like 3 lines. I was like, thank you.
um, cool. Yeah. So, I mean, people are going to use it. They're just going to. Okay. So Bard just was updated. It says, well, great. Of course, it's always being updated.
Now is Bard
So
free?
if so you have to request to be in Bard. But I think pretty much everybody's it's still in experimental, because this is Google, and you know how they are. They don't like to call anything out of beta or experimental. So, you always have to be wary using a Google product. And by the way, that's coming from someone who loves Google and uses nothing but Google products. So, but you do have to always be aware it could go away at any time. But they are working on it because they have to. Because why? Because Bing bought ChatGPT. So they are working on this. I will say at first, Bard, when it first came out, they launched it before they wanted to, but they had to. But when it first came out, it was actually better than ChatGPT 3.5 for a lot of reasons, mainly because it could access the web. And so it was more timely information in it anyway. I will say though, right now, like whenever I try comparisons between the two, a lot of times I do get better stuff from ChatGPT. I mean, even if we take this is probably going to be, wait. Don't allow, I don't know why my PowerPoint's wanting to. Okay. So like, let's take this CSS question. This one's probably going to be pretty similar. It should give me the same code, right? And then I could do the same thing I did with it. But see, it's a little slow though. But that again was faster than ChatGPT 3.5. I feel like 4 is just so fast. It's got me spoiled. But so here you can see. Now, this is interesting. Remember, ChatGPT just made it button, which would override every button on my website. Whereas Bard went ahead and gave me a custom button name for this, which I think that's interesting. But then it did tell me how to pull it in there too, right? Or I mean, sorry. No, it did not. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Down here, it showed me how to pull it in. And then I could go on and I could ask it, add a blue outline, and it would add it to it. So we could do the same things in here. So some things it's equal. Like I said, some things were better at first, I felt like, because it had such timely information in it. Code, especially, like it had access to see the newer code out there, like the documentation about React or about PHP. It was seeing the latest and greatest documentation that it was looking against, whereas ChatGPT was looking at older documentation. So, and when we talk about something like, PHP or JavaScript, documentation from 2 years ago could be seriously out of date, actually. And so Bard having that advantage there. But now, since you can search, you can say, go search Stack Skills for this on here now, because you can go out and reach out with the plugins. So if you turn on the plugin that allows it to go out and search the web, like link, whatever. So I could say, go find the top headlines on CNN.com right now. It should do it. It should use that plugin.
I noticed it's saying that it has a limit of 25 messages an hour. Is that prompts?
Yes, me putting in things. And so at a certain point, you'll hit a limit. And that's because they don't want somebody using a bot to feed in here in this WYSIWYG. Now, if you use the API, you are less limited, but there is still a limit on how quickly you can API it. So, and look, I know this is true because I actually just saw this about Lisa Marie Presley's death being a bowel obstruction. Why did they just find this out today? Like, really? Anyway, sorry. But I know that those are true, that these are the top headlines right now on CNN, because I got a little notification on my phone. So having it be able to reach out on the web is a big improvement, because you can actually go and look at sites and get information off of them. All right. If nobody has any questions on those, I do want to show you, this is Segment Anything. And this is, I'm sorry. I think I said Microsoft earlier. It's Meta. Sorry, Meta. So if we go to demo this, yeah, sorry. I can't
keep get them mixed up. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, the big guys are the big guys at this point,
Yeah.
right? So like, let's say for instance, we had, I don't know, we can pick one of their pictures if we want, or we can upload a picture, but oh, those are cute dogs. Let's pick these little dogs here. So you can see that it's very simple. If you want to pick something out, you just literally hover over it. And you see, as I hover, it's figuring out what I want. Look, it is picking that black dog out around this stick, it around the legs of the other dog down there. I mean, look at this. It's even finding some of the dog with the blonde fur, some of his leg behind that one. But so let's just say I wanted this. And you see, as I click on it, it's selected it. Now I could add to it and I could say, well, hey, I also want this stick with him. And so I grabbed the stick. Oh, well, I didn't get that. Let me see if I can get that part too. So you can see I was able to get this whole piece there. And then whenever I'm ready, I just say cut out the object and voila, there's my object. I literally can drag it out of here and drop it into a PowerPoint presentation or whatever I need to. So you can very, very quickly cut out things in here. So if your client has sent you pictures of their team and they just took it in the break room, but you want to have them cut out, you can very easily come in here, upload them in, select the person and pull them out. And I will say it is actually pretty impressive with hair. Let me see if they've got anybody with hair in here, because I was pretty impressed with that. Here, she's got some hair. But yeah, look at that. I can even just pick her hair and it's doing a pretty good job of selecting it. And so you can see, there we go. And I can say, cut this object out. And voila. Oops, I missed something in there. Something didn't grab, but you can see it's pretty good and it's very fast. And if you have the that plugin that I was telling you about, sorry, Magic Copy. If I went somewhere here and let's say I wanted to cut this lady out of this, if I right click Magic Copy, you probably can't see my right click, but Magic Copy is one of my options because I have the Magic Copy. That's its little icon. But you see, it's kind of loading in stuff, but it's doing this right now. It was doing this to me today, and it wasn't ever letting me get to it. But eventually it should give me those same tool sets, and I can just select on these people, and then I can say download, and it gives me the cutout one that I can download. Firefly. Last one I'll show you guys here, unless you want to see anything else. But so Firefly, remember, is in beta, so you really can't use these commercially, but you definitely can use them to help you lay out designs. So you've got text to image where we can generate something. So maybe we could say kid on couch eating chips and watching TV in a modern house, futuristic, let's say. By the way, I didn't test any of these prompts, so no telling what we're going to get here. So as you can see, this one's going to give me 4 up images when it's done. There we go. So we've got kids on a couch eating chips, watching TV. I mean, every one of those images actually did hit it, except for this girl is facing the wrong way. This guy is kind of facing the wrong way too. This one looks like he's watching it. This one definitely looks like she's watching it. And so if we say, well,
they all have good cheeks.
Yeah, they do.
They all have good cheekbones.
But I will say this was good. We got a variety here, diversity, which is nice. Now, notice over here, I could also say that I want these in different. I want these portrait. And so voila, it's going to make portrait size ones for me now. I could do different content types. Maybe I want this to be graphic looking, not, or maybe I want it to be more painted looking. And there are a lot of different things you can change about these in here. And then if I liked one more than the others, like maybe I like this one, I like the lighting, I can pick this one, and then you'll see it gives me, whoops, no, hang on. I had to do there we go. I can say use as a reference image, and then it's going to give us more in using this as a reference image for me. So there's a lot of options in here. So you see, very similar, right? That's my reference image. It's just giving me different things. And I could then go down here and go with a red shirt on, like let's say red shirt. So this is my reference image. And now we're going to put a red shirt on them. Hopefully we'll see. Oh, no, we got red pants though, but we didn't get red shirts. That's interesting.
Modern house, futuristic red shirt. That doesn't mean.
Yeah, I probably should have put the red shirt up here. Kid in red shirt on couch eating. There we go. Let's try that. Takes it a hot second. We still didn't get the
Oh,
red shirt. Interesting. I
yeah.
think this reference image is just overriding that. So, but if
Right,
we went with
right,
the regular, I bet we would get red shirts
right. If
without
you
that
started from
reference image.
scratch again. That is
Yeah.
And tell me again,
Yeah.
is this is in beta, but is this available to anybody, or you have to have a Microsoft account?
This
Not,
is
I mean, Adobe
Adobe.
account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have the Creative Cloud account, and so it comes with it. But I
It comes
do
with it.
know there's some way you can get into it without having the full account. I think you have to request to be in it and get accepted. If you have a Creative account, you get it
You have it
automatically.
available. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is generative fill, which is really interesting. Like they took her in there and they erased whatever she had on, and then they were able to say, put a red jacket on her, put a business suit on her, put a denim jacket, and you could change it. And it's eerily good at doing this. This is the text effects that I was telling you about. So like if we wanted to
Oh,
say
wow.
WordPress, whoops.
Pizza L.
And we could say digital themed
Text effect.
circuit boards. I don't know. We'll just put some digital stuff on here, see what we get. So you can see it's doing it. You can see over here, you can match the shape. You can be more balloony with it. You can come down and you can pick different fonts, but you can see it did give me digital stuff, circuit boards here. Kind of cool. I could do that on it. If I wanted to look this font, I could try a different font. I could also tell it to be more aggressive in this. So, and you can see down here, I've different options. If I keep going down those options, it'll start giving me others, and I can refresh and get whole new ones if I didn't like those at all.
And you
And
had
then you can,
mentioned you would have copyright, like if I wanted to use this and I have my license with them, then
right. This one, so anything right now that is coming off of the Firefly on here, it's going to have a mark like you saw in mine that says that it is, you can't use it for commercial use yet. You can
oh,
use it for
okay.
personal use. If you're just writing your personal blog, you could use these images in it. You can't use it for commercial use though, not
Okay.
yet.
Not yet.
Once, because I don't think they're going to want this to be where you use this. They're going to want you to use it inside of the tools themselves. They want you to use it in Photoshop. So this
Right.
tool will eventually be 100% integrated into Photoshop, and you won't have to go to an online, which actually I would prefer
Yeah.
than having to go to an online thing. They've got recoloring vectors, which is cool. This is going to be a really cool one. They don't even have it where we can play with it yet. But what I like about this is, like, if I went and said, generate a picture of a castle, I don't even know what I'm going to get, right? It could have 3 turrets, it could have 100 turrets, it could be whatever. But this is going to allow you to create like a reference shape and then say, make this a castle or make this a gingerbread house, that kind of thing. And so that's going to be pretty cool because it'll give you a lot more control. This extend image is available in the Photoshop beta, and it is insane. You should go to go to YouTube and watch some of the influencers showing them using this. It is crazy what it can do.
It builds out the picture.
Yes.
Oh,
And
wow.
there was one, they had like a castle up on the hill, and there was like rolling fields. They selected all the rolling fields and they're like, put a lake here. And I mean, you would have not known it wasn't in the original photo. That was how good it was. I was just like, wow. I mean, not all of them are that good, but some is pretty amazing. And this is a new one that I'm excited about that I just got into there. Well, I'm in
Oh,
their wait list for the beta, but they have some quick tools you can use. So like if you have some audio that's, not very good, like you guys probably can't hear this, can you? I have to say something in Zoom for you guys to hear it. So you may know how I do that. That I'm not sure about. Hang on.
oh, for us to hear what's on your screen.
Yeah, for you to hear, I think I have to say advanced. No. I know there is some way that I could let you guys hear this, but I can't. I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, you guys can actually go, if you go to podcast.adobe.com/enhance, this sample, if you could hear the sample, it sounds like he's like in a really loud, echoey room. And then you can just literally upload your file, drop it up here. It will enhance that file. And then you can switch this and you can hear how it enhanced his. It sounds like he's on a very expensive microphone. It's crazy. It just cleans it up just like that. So I'm super excited for the podcasting tools that they're about to come out with. It's going to be really, really good. Really good. So I'm excited about that.
That is, well, and I'm wondering, one thing we do for our clients and is they'll give us these videos and they're at their house, you know, because everybody's working from their house and the dog barks or there's weird
Yeah.
things like that. I'm wondering if, like right now, we hire an editor to work with that, and she's able to kind of do her magic. But sounds like that will be able to.
It's going to be
Wow.
really cool. You know, there's also we've used Discreet for a while too, and Discreet does a good job of some of that, doing it too. But the samples that I've seen on that Adobe one are really good. Like, I'm like, wow, you won't even need an expensive microphone. You can just, I can be out in the backyard on my AirPods and record something, and then come in and run it through that, and it'll sound like I did it in the studio. It's crazy. It even cut out. I uploaded something that was like me, really, really low, crappy sounding. And I touched something on the desk when I was trying to get closer to the microphone or whatever. And so there's like this big peak in the audio.
Yeah.
And so I uploaded that, and it cleaned it up, took out that noise too.
Wow.
And then normalized the rest of my text to a normal sound level. I was like, wow. So pretty impressive. And like literally just every day there are more and more of these tools coming out. We're going to have so many to pick from.
Well, this has been so amazing. If anybody has any questions, I know I've been doing everybody else. I'm looking, everybody else is muted. Nobody wants to say anything.
We're just making sure she got to finish her presentation.
Oh, and I was interrupting. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Right.
I'm done. I could talk about this all night, but you know, we have to
one
stop
thing
somewhere.
I saw was when you brought up the one code where it explained what the code was, I could see that really good for developer for documentation, not just somebody new learning it, to document it, and now it's documented cleanly. Hopefully.
Yes. Thank you. I'm glad you said that, because that is one of the things that I was talking to my developer about too. I was like, if we need to supply some, extra documentation to one of our clients, that's a fast way to do it. We could just run it through there, have it explain it, but then have him clean up if it didn't say exactly what, or if he needs to reference something else somewhere else that it doesn't know about.
It's a good leaping off point.
Yes.
It gets you 80% of the way there, more than likely on probably most of the time.
Exactly. And that kind of thing, you don't have to worry about copyright. I mean, that's what I'm saying. There are so many uses. Everybody seems very worried about using ChatGPT and for text generation because of copyright. And I do understand that. You do have to be careful. Don't just like generate your text and put it out there as your own. But there are so many things that we internally document or document for clients or make notes of that's never going to be copyrighted material. And so it doesn't matter if you use ChatGPT to help you generate it.
Robbie, have you seen any tools, any AI tools for video generation, either animations or anything like that? I would notice I was waiting for that to come around in your palette of presentation material.
Yeah. So, and I didn't, mainly because I haven't tested a lot of them, but I will show you now that you mentioned that. I will share, though, I've got a few of them that, one is Hey Jen. You've probably heard of this one. This one is kind of eerie, though. The uncanny valley is real in this. They basically recorded these real people, and they've got them with the different phonemes with their mouth and everything. And you can upload your, you can watch their little thing and see what it looks like. You can upload your script, and it will generate a video. Let me see. I want them to get to where you can actually see it. Here we go. So you can put stuff in the background. So you can edit online. So you can see she looks pretty good, but there's still something that's weird about it. And she's speaking another language there, which is really cool. So this is one, though, that it's been around. It's one of the first ones that I saw, and it's made a lot of waves out there. People are using it. I saw someone had a training video they made with it, and I was like, there's still something a little strange about it. But you know what? If you don't have you can't do it yourself, or you don't have the money to go pay to have it generated, this is a good deal. And I think it's fairly cheap for what you're getting. I mean, you can generate out, you get credits, and that allows you to buy stuff like 5 minutes video or whatever here. Because you just use it for short little explainer videos, basically. And they've got, I don't know if they have it in here, all their, here you go. Look at all the different, there are also characters. So you could do it with 3D animated characters. You could do it with real people. The voices are pretty deadgum good, though. I will say that the voices are good. And there's also another one for AI voice. This one is amazing. We actually generated out a voiceover with this, just testing it out. And it's really good because you can actually say, I want this to be excited, or I want this to be serious. And it actually kind of slows the speed of the voice actor down and everything. And they really are voice actors. So it is creating it. And so it's pretty deadgum good. This, you could generate this voice if you wanted to and put it in the other one too. I see a lot of things where they're mixing them up, or like things like this one, Pictory AI. This is also one that allows you to, like, you can create videos. It doesn't have an actor in it necessarily, but you can like do things like, you could say, here's my blog, and put it in there, and it'll generate a video for you, going and grabbing stock imagery that it thinks matches the text, breaks it down into beats with the text on each screen. And so it'll flow through one thing to the next, and put some background music on it. And it's using their own licensed stock imagery. So anything you generate out of here, you can use. So this was another one I saw someone build some YouTube videos with, and they used Murph AI. Well, wait, they used ChatGPT to generate their script. They went into Murph AI and they had their script read. And then they went into Pictory and they made the video with the uploaded, they uploaded the script for the closed captioning. They uploaded the voice from Murph AI. And then it generated a video. It was about dogs. And it was like, it was like the top dog breeds to have or whatever. And it found clips, stock imagery of dogs to go after each one, like when they're talking about a Saint Bernard, or they're talking about, a poodle. It wasn't perfect. He had to go and edit, but you have the ability in here to go and edit. So he went and swapped out the images that he didn't like that it made, and then exported it out. And he made a top 5 dog breeds for families with children, YouTube commercial video kind of thing, in less than 18 minutes or less than 23 minutes or something like that. Like, it was crazy. It was crazy. So they're not perfect, but yeah, they're pretty good. And I will say, if you're an Adobe fan like I am, the new stuff that's coming out in Premiere is going to be insane. Like, I was watching a video today on track matting, and it's literally, you're going to be able to just go like, here, that thing, I want you to track it. And it is going to track mat that sucker. And it even did, like, they cut out a man who was standing at some windows, and you had to tweak a little bit on it, but it would have taken you in the old days, that would have taken you just to get the outline around him, the mask around him in the first frame would have been insane. But then to go, okay, now track him, and it just then rotoscoped for you. Amazing. So the tools that are coming out in Adobe are going to be crazy too. One that I have not looked at yet, I just found this one today, so I can't tell you anything about it, except for that their ad really caught my eye, because it said, do you need to replicate yourself? Use Ubot Studio to make a replica of yourself. I was like, well, now I've got to look into this. I'm not really sure what it is. It was just a good ad. But so I haven't really looked at this one, but it is using AI. Transform your business, get more done in less time. It's probably just going to tell me, organize yourself. I don't know, but anyway, I thought it was interesting, so I marked it to take a look at. Beautiful AI. If you create a lot of presentations, Beautiful AI will generate PowerPoint presentations for you. So this one, and I saw some samples of these. It was pretty good. I mean, because these are just presentations, right? So like, it can get, you're not trying to do like real video of people or whatever. It's just presentations, and they were pretty good. They're examples. So you can go on there too. And I think they may have they don't have it anymore. They used to have a demo. You could just do the demo and try it. Oh, try it for free. Yeah. So they still do. If you go down to the bottom, you could try it for free, and check it out and see if it's something that you would actually use or not.
So there's no excuse for bad slides during a talk anymore?
That's right. No excuse, I guess.
Throw in your stuff, yeah.
Yeah. And then, by the way, this one, I had a client who was using this, and it looked really cool. So I'm actually thinking about getting this one myself. And what this is this is a AI bot that goes into your Zoom meeting or your Google Meet meeting with you, and it takes notes of the entire meeting. And then you can say, summarize this, create me an action list out of this. And so, yeah, it was pretty sweet. I was a little jealous, I have to say. So,
Kim, it gives you new excuses. You can blame it on the AI. That's why you have a bad presentation.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
there you go.
It's a new excuse.
A new excuse, yes. Anyway, so those are some of my cool things that I think they're cool, but I have not tested all of those thoroughly, as you can see, because there's only so many minutes in a day.
Yeah. That's so much. I'm going to turn off the recording right now just so it's not too long. So thank you. I want to say publicly, thank you, Robbie, for coming.
Oh,
really
welcome.
appreciate it.